The Magical Kindness Muffs, part of the Storytime with Emma and Paige series. Tuesday, I had a really bad day. It all started because my mom had an important meeting at work, so she had to wake me up 15 minutes early. I was tired and very grumpy. When I was getting dressed for school, I couldn't find my favorite shirt. I searched everywhere and finally found my shirt sitting in the dirty laundry pile, so I couldn't wear it. I was disappointed and very grumpy. When it was breakfast time, my mouth was excited to bite into a warm piece of toast covered in creamy butter and a melted slice of cheese. We didn't have any bread, so I had to eat cold cereal with milk. My mouth was sad and I was very grumpy. When I walked into my classroom, I was looking forward to some quiet reading time with my favorite book. Then I saw a message on the board that said, "Surprise spelling test today." I was nervous and very grumpy. I could feel my grumpiness growing bigger and bigger. I threw my head back and screamed out loud, "I am having a very bad day." My classmates turned to look at me, and I was embarrassed and very grumpy. My teacher sent me to the office to calm down. When I walked in, Miss Roberts, our principal, smiled warmly at me and said, "Hi, Margaret. It looks like you are having a tough day. Would you like to talk to me about it?" The words started pouring out of me. When I finally finished, Miss Roberts said, "I think I have something that will help." She reached into her desk and pulled out a strange headband that had 2 big hearts on each end. She handed me the band, and I curiously turned it around in my hands. "These are Magical Muffs, and I think they can help to cheer up your day," Miss Roberts explained. "You can take them when you go back to your class, and hopefully they will help you to feel less grumpy." I put the band over my head, and the hearts covered my ears. I waited for something to happen, but nothing did. I walked back to my classroom, convinced that Miss Roberts had tricked me. As I opened the classroom door, the magical muffs started tingling on my ears. Suddenly I could hear different voices, but I noticed that no one was talking. I quickly walked in and covered my ears with my hands, hoping the sounds would stop. I uncovered my ears and was about to rip the magical muffs off my head when I suddenly recognized one of the voices. It was my classmate Emma. "I am so hungry. I wish my family had enough money so we could buy some food," I heard Emma say. I turned my head away, and a new voice came into the magical muffs. I could hear William's voice saying, "I am so embarrassed about the hole in my sweater. I really hope that no one in my class notices how old and worn all of my clothes are." I couldn't understand what was happening or how I could hear voices when no one seemed to be talking. Then I could hear Paige's voice. "I wish someone wanted to be my friend," I heard her say. I quickly pulled the magical muffs off my head and the voices disappeared. I let out a huge sigh of relief. I grabbed the magical muffs and darted back to the school office. I walked into Miss Roberts' office and I gently placed the magical muffs on the edge of Miss Roberts' desk, and I told her all about what had happened in class. When I finished telling her about the voices, she smiled. "As you have discovered, the magical muffs have special powers. The magical muffs allow you to hear the thoughts that are in people's hearts," Miss Roberts explained. "You mean I was hearing the heart thoughts of people in my class?" I asked incredulously. "That's right," Miss Roberts nodded as she tucked the magical muffs back into the drawer of her desk and returned to her work. As I walked back to the classroom, my mind was racing as I reflected on the heart thoughts that I had heard with the magical muffs. I was surprised what my classmates were experiencing in their hearts, and I instantly felt extremely grateful and much less grumpy. That night, I told my mom all about the magical muffs, and I apologized to her for my grumpiness in the morning. My mom gave me a big hug. As I fell asleep later that night, I was still thinking about my classmates. The next morning, I quickly dressed, ate breakfast, and picked up the packages that my mom and I had made the night before. I excitedly left for school extra early and entered my classroom before the other students arrived. I quickly put a treat on Emma's desk so she wouldn't be hungry. I placed a new sweater on William's desk so he wouldn't be sad about the hole. Finally, I placed a note on Paige's desk asking her to play with me at recess so that she would have a friend. I sat down and realized that my heart was full of happiness and I didn't have any grumpy feelings anymore. A few days later, I was outside at recess and I noticed Miss Roberts giving the Magical Muffs to another student who was having a grumpy day. She looked at me and winked. I smiled and waved back at her, knowing that someone else was about to discover the magic of the muffs. The end. If you're enjoying the Storytime with Emma and Paige series, please remember to subscribe.